So this is the Charlottesville Redevelopment and Housing Authority special meeting, Monday, August 24th, 2020, 6 p.m. And this is a virtual meeting due to the COVID virus. I will read the code that allows us to meet virtually during this time. Governor Northam issued Executive Order EO 53 restricting public gatherings of greater than 10 persons, according to Code 2.23708.2A3, permits public bodies to meet electronically to discuss business required or necessary to operation of the public body in discharge of its lawful purposes, duties, and responsibilities in times of emergencies and to address COVID-19. Therefore, this meeting is being held electronically pursuant to Virginia law because the COVID-19 pandemic makes it impractical and unsafe to assemble a quorum physically in a single location. And welcome and hello. I forgot to actually say hello. Good to see you all. So I guess we're ready for the roll call. Ms. Leslie, do you want to do the roll call? Are you? Let me see. Let me see.
It's just the cardboard cutout like at the NBA games.
Yes.
Betsy, she was online, and that is a profile picture that she has up, and I was conversing with her earlier. I will send her an unmute.
All right. If she doesn't, I'm happy to do the roll call.
I can do them if she is not available.
It looks like she's trying to join us by phone, so you guys might want to
Something must
continue.
be going on.
Yeah.
I know. I have to say I was in many Zoom calls for my PA today, and there were some problems today, and apparently it was across, the eastern United States. So we'll do our best.
Are we ready, Betsy?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Walker,
Present.
Commissioner Goldblatt,
Here.
Commissioner Osteen,
Here.
Commissioner Henry,
Here.
Commissioner Slaughter, Commissioner Green,
Here.
Chair Rucker.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. And we'll have a brief moment of silence just to get our heads in the meeting. Okay, so before we get to public comment, are there any general announcements, CRHA staff, if anyone from FAR wants to chat that they have something, commissioners, anything that we think residents listening should know about? And then I can list the meeting dates so that people that may not make it to the end of the meeting will have our next meeting dates.
I'd like to mention, there might be others, but that the safety committee has been meeting every other Tuesday. So we just met this past Tuesday, August 18th. We'll meet again on September 1st. We have a stable Zoom link with the same password that you need to enter every single time. That should be going out in CRHA newsletters, and hopefully it can get up on the website how you log in. We've also attached to that information about how you join by phone, and if you join by phone, how you mute and unmute yourself so that you're able to participate. We meet at 6 p.m. They go usually about an hour and a half, but as many of the residents know, there are pressing safety concerns that we're trying to address, and there's been some proposals to turn it into a working committee. And for that to happen, we need a lot of resident engagement. And so we've been brainstorming how to drive that engagement. One of the things that we're going to be doing at this upcoming safety committee meeting on the 1st, in addition to hearing residents' concerns, is talking about Zoom protocols so that people feel like it's a space where they can share, where it's safe to share, and where they know that there's not going to be any retribution for the things that they share. So please, we'd love to have as many participants as possible. I can paste the information into the Zoom chat, although I know that not everyone has access to it. But you can always email me if you want any information, and you can find the information on the FAR website, and you'll be getting it in CRHA newsletters.
And I will say a flyer went out today to all the properties for the safety committee meeting.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'll mention the other meetings upcoming so that everyone's aware in case they don't listen to our whole meeting. The safety meeting, which the next one will be September 1st at 6 p.m. Every Thursday at 2:30, we have a redevelopment committee meeting. So if you're interested in any of the upcoming redevelopment, it's every other week. One week it focuses on the most pressing projects at Crescent Halls and South First Street. And then the next week, it's a sort of larger redevelopment discussion about all of the properties, although it tends to focus on the more recent projects. I'll have to ask the commissioners about a board training, but I was hoping we could do a board training one of these Thursdays as a work session. Our lawyer from Norfolk does them. She does them for lots of housing authorities. So this would be great for those of us who have been on the board and for the new members. And then our next monthly meeting will be September 28th at 6 p.m. I'm assuming it will still be a virtual meeting. Okay, so we'll start with public comments. And I believe, I'm looking at my screen, there's panelists and attendees. So we'll look to see if anyone raises hands or
We have Brandon Collins up first.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, everybody. First, want to make an announcement, and I'm not sure other FAR folks are here to make the announcement themselves. Some, if not all of you, should have gotten an email today about our awesome internship program commencement coming up on Thursday at 5 o'clock. And we really hope you'll join us. It's a new thing to do this online, but it's a really great way to get you there and see what's up. There's an amazing speaker, Delegate Hudson, who had some interaction with the internship program. So we're feeling really super cool about that. And I just really, hope CRHA will continue as they have in the past to, honor these residents and the hard work they've done, and to show up and celebrate their awesome work during a really strange time in history. And just so everybody knows, our intern graduates are Annette Brock, Randall Crawford, Katrina Cooper, Cynthia Holliday, and Kathy Green. And we are just super pleased that we can still go ahead with some kind of acknowledgement of the great work that they've done. So please, that's Thursday at 5 o'clock. We really would love you all there. And if you didn't get my email, let me know. I'll send it to you, and we'll also have it posted on the FAR website. I'm not going to add a whole lot of additional public comments. The work session you had the other day, I think, summarized where FAR is at. We're really excited with John. I think the communication coming from John Sales right off the bat has been phenomenal, and we're feeling very confident that we're going to continue to build a really great relationship with CRHA moving forward. Similarly, we're feeling super confident about Lisa and Ms. Henry, and you're coming on to the Housing Authority Board, and just really encourage the board to be a working board. There's a lot of challenges ahead of you. It's not just redevelopment, and it's not just the state of buildings. There are issues with the community, and the Housing Authority itself has a lot of work to do to be in solid footing. And I think, you know, you got some fresh blood, and you got some folks with some background on the past. And I feel confident that y'all can do it as long as you're willing to do the work. And so I really encourage you to get involved in every committee and every meeting and make it happen. As you know, there are serious concerns about safety in our neighborhoods. And I think that's a priority for our Housing Authority. And I think, you know, it's been a while since I've given everybody a pep talk, but the work that's been going on with this Housing Authority over the last few years is historic. It's probably the most impressive public housing redevelopment effort in the entire country, particularly when you look at what's going on with phase 2. But in terms of resident participation and decision-making, resident understanding, we get down on ourselves a lot because we set a really high bar, and we should, because we're dealing with historic inequities, and we're dealing with Charlottesville's past, and we're trying to you know, make a new path and make some amends. And I think this is amazing work, and it doesn't mean we slow down, doesn't mean we can't do better, but this is historic, important work. And I urge you all not to let this drop in a year or in another couple of years. I feel like very strongly that people who are participating in this historic process need to see it through as part of the Charlottesville community. So nobody gets out alive, and you know, disappointed to see some folks who dropped out, but don't let that be you. You have to stick with this process.
Anybody else from the public would like to speak? We just need you to raise your hand on the Zoom call here. Madam Chair, I don't see any other hands, so we'll proceed with the meeting.
Okay, thank you. We'll have another opportunity for a public meeting, public comments at the end of our meeting. And thank you for the pep talk from FAR. I think I think the work is difficult in this virtual environment, you know, just given that it's harder to meet with people and get consensus. So pep talk is needed. Thank you. Okay, so we have updates from commissioners and discussion about board work sessions. First, we have the safety committee update, and I believe Ms. Goldblatt already gave some information about what's been going on or the thoughts, but could elaborate on that, or if anyone else wants to share in reporting back from the safety committee.
I'm happy to report what we've been discussing. So I think the most pressing issue was the shootings at South First Street. And so we've talked a lot about things to do with the residents about trauma in the wake of the event, helping residents to regain a sense of safety. But we've also talked a lot about long-standing safety issues, and especially the question of community engagement in this moment and ways to have residents feel a sense of ownership and pride in their communities so that they feel as though they're active participants in any discussions around safety. So we've brought up things, there's been discussions about things like cameras, discussions about things like policing. Right now, I know that CRHA is working on a MOU and a memorandum of understanding with the Charlottesville Police Department. And that's something that we'd love to have residents have a lot of input into. And so that's something that the safety committee is going to turn to. So I have very extensive notes. I've been sending them to CRHA staff. I should tell residents that I mention when FAR staff speak and they say, you know, I'm coming from FAR, or city staff or police, like anyone like that. But any residents, I just write resident. And so I just say, like, this is what the resident is saying. So there's no identifying information for the residents in those notes. But there are really large issues. There's concerns about problems traveling between sites. So people causing a problem at one site and moving on to the next. And so we've been trying to think beyond simply just reacting to these events, ways to prevent them from happening in the first place.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? Okay. We'll move on, but that is important work, and we thank you for keeping the momentum going. So our next business is approval of the minutes. Our last official monthly board meeting was June 22nd. Let me grab my copy. And I suppose since two of our current commissioners weren't here, we still have a, yeah, I guess we still have a quorum. We can still vote on the minutes.
Madam Chair, quick question. I would be abstaining from this vote since I wasn't there. Does that still give you a quorum?
Yes, I think it does.
Thank you.
Yeah, because then we're down, we have 4 people who were present. Yes.
Thank you.
So we just need a motion to approve the minutes if and when anyone is ready.
Point to make. I participated in the meeting. I'm shown as absent on the last item, I believe. And I don't know if that's because I might have dropped off when we said, you know, I didn't hang around for the vote possibly. I don't care, but you know, I'm referenced numerous times in the document, so it might make more sense to say I was there even if I didn't vote.
Okay.
Given that modification, I would move for approval of the minutes.
I second.
Okay, all those actually have to do a roll call. And Dr. Henry and Ms. Green, I will not call on you. Mr. Osteen,
Yes.
Ms. Goldblatt,
Yes.
Ms. Walker?
I wasn't at the July meeting either.
Oh, this is the June meeting. So we still had Ms.
Yes.
Oliver.
All right.
And then myself, yes. So minutes are passed or approved. All right, so next we'll move on. And I have a question. Maybe this is to Dave Norris, if you're on listening. On our website, have we been, I don't think we may not have these up yet on our website. I'm not sure. Can we just take the document and upload all of the minutes onto our CRHA website?
Yeah, so the minutes are uploaded every month.
Oh, okay.
There's a tab on the website that says board agendas, and there's a separate one that says board minutes, and so
Okay.
they're uploaded.
Awesome. Thank you. I have not checked it lately. All right, so next we'll move on to Mr. Sales with a director's update. We all have a written version, so if you want to summarize or give us the most important pieces of your work so far.
Okay. Good evening, commissioners and the public. It's going to be very brief. We talked about a lot of the things at the work session a couple weeks ago. So one of the big points that I will continue to highlight are the number of vacancies that we're dealing with. Right now it is at 58, but that number will go up. In the report, you can see that we're projecting, I believe, another 6 vacant units by the end of the week. So we are working to figure out how we can take care of those units through a mixture of ideas. So right now we're working with Habitat. Habitat has pledged some construction members to assist us with a few units. We currently have a contractor going through some of the units as well, which I provided you guys the contract for this morning. We were supposed to have a meeting today, but I had a resident call and I was on the phone while the contractor was here, so I wasn't able to get off, go meet with him. So I have to reschedule that meeting, but he's supposed to provide us with an update on the expected deadline of finishing those units on Wednesday. And then we're also looking at hiring 3 to 4 maintenance technicians. That number will probably be 4 or 5, and the possibility of keeping 3 or 4 of them on permanently to assist us with our everyday needs in that department. That department is really short-staffed at the moment, and it has been short-staffed for quite a while. And we are also working with a partner to possibly assist us with turning some of those units, maybe 15 to 20 of those units, and a partner possibly paying for those units to get turned by a contractor. We don't have agreement yet, so I won't say who the partner is, but we are in talks with someone. The other issue that we talked about at the last meeting were the number of vouchers that we have that need to go out on the street. So right now we have 49 vouchers out on the street with the goal to put another 20 out within the next week or two. So one issue that we ran into was we used to be able to do these large briefings for HCV program, 10 to 15 people in one room. We can no longer do that. So the voucher staff is meeting one-on-one with each person. Typically takes about 30 minutes to maybe an hour and a half, depending on how much need the individual needs during that time. So we have purchased a briefing video that we plan to post on our website, which will allow us to issue more vouchers faster because we actually don't have to meet with the individual anymore. We can send them to our website, they'll review the video online, and then they will be issued the voucher. And we're also doing the same thing for public housing. So once the units do become ready, we need to be able to get the individuals in those units. And we're gonna run into the same issue where we can only meet with each person one at a time. So we'll have the video online where we can send the individuals to the video and they can access it. And then we can fill the unit with the individual once they've completed that video. So we're doing that for housekeeping, just because that's always a good refresher to have a good housekeeping video. So housekeeping, fair housing, the public housing orientation, and the briefing for HCV. And I believe that is all I have. Of course, there's more, but that is the meat of everything right there.
I have a question about when you on your report, the last purge for HCV. What does that mean, and how often is it supposed to happen?
Well, it's good to do it every year.
Mm-hmm.
You said it's on my report?
It's on the Director of Housing monthly report.
Oh, okay. Ms. Green is on here. Ms. Green, can you give an update on that?
I'm sorry, I missed that.
She's asking about the purge for HCV, the last time it was purged.
I believe it was,
It says December 18th. I'm just not sure what that means and how often it's supposed to be done.
it's supposed to be done once a year.
Okay,
CB was done in December, public housing was done in January, but it's once a year. And it's
okay,
send letters out to everybody on the waiting list to see if they're still interested, and it's a copy of a form they return.
okay. That's what my question was. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from commissioners?
In looking at the financial, just the summary,
Mhm.
I'm wondering, you were saying in our work session that we were doing okay because of the care money that we're getting during
Yes.
COVID. And I guess I just wondered if you could speak to that. I can't find my exact question. I circled something when I was looking through.
Yes.
But it seemed like our vacant units are definitely a revenue issue, but then the care funding is helping us stay afloat.
Yes. So I will say the CARES money is definitely what's keeping us afloat. We would be in really bad shape if it wasn't for the CARES money financially. We have not met our projections for either leasing up vouchers or public housing units since the schedule was created before the last budget was approved. So CARES money is really keeping us afloat. We're able to purchase, we're able to purchase vehicles, which we have several individuals. We have 2 individuals driving their own vehicles throughout the day that are maintenance staff. We have a group of individuals riding in one vehicle, which is impossible to social distance on a bench seat in the truck. So those are some of the issues. And that's not even mentioning the issues with the units. So the CARES money is giving us the opportunity to get our staff up, our staffing numbers to where they should be with maintenance. So we should have 6 to 8 maintenance workers full-time, and we were averaging 4. So that is part of the reason why we have a large vacancy. And without getting the staff up to where we need it to be, that vacancy number will continue to increase because we're adding more vacant units and we're actually able to turn them over. So that's never a good thing. So if you go through the report, we weren't, for the last few months, we were able to use the PPP funding to cover salaries. So those funds haven't come from any of the properties or the central call center. So it's given like really good positive numbers in net incomes in all of the AMPs, and as well as the central call office center. We are a little down when it comes to our voucher number, of course, and that's because we're projecting more vouchers than we're actually leasing up. But we've put a lot of vouchers on the street. Unfortunately, the more vouchers we put on the street, the harder it is for individuals to find housing units. And we already had really low numbers when it came to being successful with finding units in a very short amount of time. So 0% of the vouchers we put out on the street find a unit within 30 days. The average time it takes to find a unit for our clients is between 90 and 150 days. Most housing authorities are averaging 60 days or less. So that's one of our issues. So the vouchers we put on the street now is a chance that our numbers won't increase until the beginning of next year in January, due to the time it takes individuals to find units. And we have a 56% success rate. So about we put 10 vouchers on the street, about 4 of them are going to come back because the individual is not going to be able to find a unit, or they won't qualify because maybe they're passed, or with a bad credit or something like that. So that is one of the reasons why we have to open up our wait list, because we currently also don't have a wait list. Everyone on our wait list is currently slated to have briefings to get vouchers. So it says that we have, I believe it said maybe 77 on the wait list, but that isn't actually the case, because those individuals are slated to get vouchers, either have a voucher or they're slated to get the orientation to get the voucher. So that's one of the reasons we need to open up the wait list. And we met on Friday to discuss that with FAR and legal aid to ensure that we're opening up the wait list and ensuring that, number one, we're protecting everyone's health, but also ensuring that we're providing the right resources out for the community for individuals that don't have resources to apply online. So we've talked about possibly doing tablets and working with the community to ensure there's computers, or there's someone out there that can help families sign up for the wait list. And I think that's it. If there are any more questions, I can go a little further into it if need be.
Okay. Thank you. Other questions? Okay. Well, hopefully, who knows, we'll see. Hopefully some of those will find units soon. I know it's been hard for people.
Mr. Sales, I have a quick question for you. Sorry, I was just going through all of what you've given us, and you said you were trying to purchase some vehicles. Are you guys able to purchase off the state contract, or are you trying to purchase in other ways?
We purchased through the state contract. So last
You
week
can't
we purchased through EVA. So
Okay.
last week we purchased one van to replace a van that was totaled, I guess, a while back now. And we're probably going to purchase another one tomorrow. And both vans are used, so we're trying to save as much as possible because this money is also designed to address COVID cases that might pop up. So we want to ensure that there is some money there just in case. So if something was to happen at Crescent Halls, West Haven, South Virtue 6th Street, right, we have some funding there to address those issues without having to tap into another resource.
And I was sitting here trying to remember. I know that at one point there was a contractor in town that had changed out their whole fleet and had offered some of those vehicles for sale. And I can't remember who that was, but maybe, I don't know if you've got contacts out there, but maybe that's another option at some point. If a contractor, you could ask around to some of these contractors, because I have known that to happen.
I will say I have reached out to the city, and I won't say we have an agreement or anything in place, but we're working on what an agreement will look like to get their vehicles once they've switched out their vehicles, because they do it, I think, every 3 or 4 years. So it's still enough life for us to get those vehicles and use on sites.
That was going to be my third point, and you might want to reach out to the county too. They do the same thing, and they've got and the county and county schools, I know the county schools have vans because they use the vans to transport to all the schools. So those may be options for you as well. But, and you're right, usually there's a lot of life left in some of those vehicles. I think that's what was in my head at that point. Sorry about that. Thank you.
Very fine. Thank you.
I've got another question about the recovery agreement. I know that the lawyers between the city, HUD, and ourselves were meeting to talk about signing off on that agreement. Do you have an update on that? I think, anyway, I'm not sure where that stands.
The city attorney's office and HUD's lawyers are still negotiating, I guess, verbiage in the agreement. But HUD has decided to move forward with the recovery agreement that was signed by you and Kathleen. So we are going to start reporting on that on October 1st. So once we do our first report, I'll make sure that gets to the board or it gets updated on that report.
Does that mean, this is probably a stupid question, but so the timeline that they laid out, I remember the Excel sheet that has each step that we need to take and the timeline associated with kind of each step. Did any of this, that it wasn't officially signed by the city, did that help us at all and delay? And, do any of those deadlines get extended, or are we still on the same schedule? It's just that now we're official.
I don't know if I can answer that, but
Okay.
I would always side with the caution side, of course,
Yeah.
because it's probably a chance that it's not going to get amended to reflect the new dates. HUD is trying to show housing authorities and everyone else that they're doing their job. So we should go forward with what we have done. And Kathleen has done a great job of addressing some of those items already. And the items that have not been addressed, we're working to address them now. So we're well on track for the recovery agreement.
Okay. That's great. Thank you. All right. If there's no other questions, I don't see any, we can move on to Mr. Norris and the redevelopment update. And you ready?
Ready.
All right.
So you all have my report. Basically, the big news is we're making good progress in getting to closing on our first two projects. And it's, there's a number of hoops we have to jump through, but one of the final hoops was approval from the Fair Housing Office at HUD regarding, it's called a Site and Neighborhood Standards Review. And I'm pleased to report that just this morning, we received a word from HUD that both our Crescent Halls and South First Street Phase 1 projects have now cleared the Site and Neighborhood Standards Review process and have been approved by the Fair Housing Office. So that's one of the final hoops, regulatory hoops that we have to jump through to get us to closing. There are still some hoops with the Special Application Center in Chicago, but we feel like we're very close to finalizing that process with the demo dispo process. So we're getting very close. There is light at the end of the tunnel. We've got good progress also with the city in securing the bond financing for our projects. And in fact, I believe September 7th, City Council will be voting on a bond sale for CRHA to get that money flowing. And we've got some paperwork we need to finalize in that regard. But we're getting there, and we got to get both of our general contractors to finalize their contracts. And so Jay Kessler with Riverbend is updating the list of things that we still need from our general contractors in order to get the final contracts. And once all this comes together, hopefully by October 1, we can move to close. So, and then it'll take a little bit of time to mobilize and get some construction activity going, but we're still hoping to break ground this calendar year, and that's to be determined, but we're getting there. So we had a really exciting event last week. The city's Trade Builders Academy that they put in place in partnership with CRHA and PVCC and KTEC and GMA and others had their very first graduation ceremony. So this is basically training residents in our Section 3 program on construction skills so that when construction does begin on our sites, that they'll be first in line to get jobs and well-paying jobs doing the work of rebuilding public housing in Charlottesville. And so we had 4 graduates in our very first training class who graduated, made it all the way through a very difficult program, made much more difficult by COVID, which changed everything about the nature of the program, but they stuck with it and they graduated. 2 of them have already received jobs from another local contractor. So hopefully we'll get them back once our work starts. But and in addition to the 4 graduates of that program, we've had at least 4 other public housing residents from our Section 3 program that have been hired by the Housing Authority itself and our maintenance department. So I want to once again give a lot of credit to Joy Johnson, our Section 3 coordinator, for getting residents in the pipeline and getting them into training, getting them into jobs. We're just getting started, but we're already seeing some good signs of progress. So I want to give a big shout out to Holly Lee and the city's Office of Economic Development for pulling that program together. And you know, it's a learning process. There's some things that went well and some things that could be improved. So we'll talk to her now about getting another program underway in the not too distant future and keep getting residents through that pipeline. So making good progress. We had a good discussion today with some of our redevelopment partners about ways to just improve communication, particularly as activity is ramping up, and a lot of, you know, there's a lot of balls in the air right now. We want to make sure everybody's feeling engaged and included, informed about everything that's happening. So some good measures to improve communication and coordination. Yeah, so happy to answer any questions anybody might have.
So I know you've addressed this, this is Commissioner Goldblatt, you've addressed this on other calls, but I'm just wondering if you could, I'm sure that some of the timelines have shifted because of COVID, and I don't know if you could just give us a sense of how far back you're looking, or the kinds of things that you're thinking about, especially because the nature of the pandemic is so uncertain.
Yeah, this COVID definitely put a big wrench in the works in terms of, particularly when it comes to renovating a building like Crescent Halls, with a, you know, renovation in place with seniors and people with disabilities living in the building as it's being renovated. And even under normal conditions, that's tricky. And then you throw in a global pandemic where seniors and people with compromised immune systems are most at risk from it. Just makes that process so much more difficult. But our team has really rallied together, and they looked at a whole variety of options over the summer for shifting gears and retooling the way we're going to renovate that building. They've come to a consensus now to where I think the most of the work, they'll be able to have complete separation between construction crews and the residents. And that's really important to us. We want to make sure we preserve the health and safety of our residents. But in answer to your question, it certainly has affected the timeline. There's no doubt about that. You know, if you all remember, originally we were hoping to get underway by early 2020. In August, we're looking at hopefully breaking ground, you know, by the end of the calendar year, with closing hopefully in October. So it's definitely affected it, but we feel pretty confident now that the plan they've come up with is going to keep our residents safe while that project gets underway.
And Dave, I had a follow-up question there too. And one of the reports, I'm sure I read it somewhere, but it said the mock-up units were underway.
Well, so yeah, since that report was submitted, we actually had another call where I think now the consensus is that, you know, there wasn't an interest in having a mock-up unit in Crescent Halls, but again, we're talking about introducing construction crews to the building. And I think at the end of the day, all of our partners decided rather than putting in the time and expense and dealing with the safety issues involved in actually doing a model unit, instead, we're going to kind of do it on a more virtual basis.
Okay.
Have our architects design a really nice virtual walkthrough of what a mock-up, what a unit would look like. And then we're also installing a monitor in the lobby down at Crescent Halls. And so that's one of the videos that'll be running on a loop. We also have a virtual walkthrough of the construction project itself. And well, that'll be running on a loop. We'll have other information running on a loop, and then we'll post it elsewhere as well. So residents can access it.
Okay, yeah, I knew that was the direction that had been decided, and then there was some feedback about, but that was my concern, just the introduction into the building and how we want to keep safe and COVID out the building. So that was my ask.
Then the other thing we'll do is once that, so we're going to start construction for the residential units on the second and third floors of the building. So the idea is that once the 15 units on the second floor are fully renovated, I think our thinking is we'll hold one of them open for a couple weeks so that residents can see, so we don't actually have to do a mock unit, we'll just show them an actual unit once it's fully renovated. And we'll arrange for tours and again, make sure we address social distancing and all that good stuff as we do so, but give residents a chance to see what an actual renovated unit looks like before we move somebody into that unit. So. Mr. Osteen, you're muted.
Yeah, I unmuted it once and we're back muted. Am I unmuted now? So I was going to suggest just that. So I think that's a great idea. You know, after 40 years of doing this stuff, you know, I've had very sophisticated clients that really didn't know what we were talking about when we put drawings in front of them. So I'm sure we'll have one or two residents who are really enlightened by really seeing a unit. And as much as we're going to be doing, you know, 105 similar units, if there was something we could address after the first 30, that could be very valuable. So I think that's a excellent talking about there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Other questions for Mr. Norris? Okay, do we need to, is there anything about the September 7th City Council meeting that would need support for that? Like for a vote, you know, I'm just thinking like, do we need to get on the public comment list to support it? Or is that something that is just a sort of checking the box?
Yeah, it's a moment. It's a sort of checking the box. We did have a pretty good discussion, I think Friday or the Monday. No, Monday is today. So Friday. About financing and so you all will see CRHA on our closed session for tomorrow. So council will be having that discussion, and Michael and I participated in the meeting, and the only thing that we're asking the counselors is we discussed the $1.5 million that would be debt to the housing authority. And we want to present another option for us supporting that versus having to take on the debt. And that's the only thing, that's what we'll be discussing tomorrow. So don't know if we'll get the votes for it, but the attorneys and their concerns about the potentially losing the property if CRHA couldn't exercise first right of refusal. If something came up, it will be addressed then. And then the meeting is on the 8th instead of the 7th.
Oh, thank you.
Labor Day, but that's it. So just in case anyone sees on our closed session meeting, that's what it's about. Okay.
Great, thank you. Okay. Thank you. And thank you for all your work, Mr. Norris. I know it's really hard being the go-between person between all these different constituents and involved in this. All right, I guess that'll lead us up to another round of public comments. If anyone listening would like to, I don't know how you do it, raise your hand And we can let you in to make a comment.
So we have Brandon Collins again.
Hi again. You know what I never said originally was I'm Brandon. I work for FAR, the Public Housing Association of Residents. We are the duly recognized resident council and resident advisory board for Charlottesville. I kind of wanted to add on to the pep talk a little bit, but also just first mention a couple of things. I assume, well, I know that Mr. Sales and others are really trying to come up with ways to make sure that voucher recipients can find housing. And it's a real big, it's a problem when you get a lot of vouchers out on the street all at once. As we know, Charlottesville already has an issue, so that just gets compounded by putting a bunch out there. But you know, you have to do it, and I'm not sure Mr. Sales highlighted enough for y'all that he's going to put a full-time person on managing some of that, so that there can be better landlord outreach, and you know, in a hope to get people housed. It's a funny thing. The General Assembly now says you can't discriminate on income, source of income, meaning they can't discriminate against a voucher, but you know, landlords are coming up with all kinds of other ways to discriminate against voucher holders. And that's really disappointing. And I know you all, I hope, have the stomach for some really strong advocacy on that. And I know that us and legal aid are interested in really pushing that forward a little bit better, because you know, vouchers are going to be a big piece of changing history here in Charlottesville, and we got to make it work. And we need landlords to be good landlords and not discriminate. Only other like tiny little piece I just want to point out is some of the outcomes that we're looking at for redevelopment are huge successes. It's not just that we've had good input and good involvement in decision making, but you know, in phase 1 and phase 2, you're adding a significant amount of affordable housing to the Charlottesville community, and more so than anybody really else is prepared to do. And I think that's awesome. And I just wanted to point out how awesome it is too that there's no market rate housing attached with phase 1 and phase 2 as of yet. And that's a big deal. I mean, that means you're really meeting the need and really taking it seriously. And I know that y'all and us and everybody else is going to get beat over the head on this issue time and time again. But the fact that you can pull this together, get it financed, and you don't have to do that is really incredible. And I think really is empowering to the entire community. And I just, you know, I just really hope that CRHA will continue to grow and become the major player in affordable housing in Charlottesville.
Is there anybody else from the public that would like to speak? If so, please just raise your hand. We have Don Gathers. Go ahead, Don.
Is he muted?
No, just unmuted. Good
Yeah,
evening,
okay.
everyone. Good evening. Not a question, just a comment. I just want to thank everyone for all their hard work. And thank you, Mr. Sales, for coming in and hitting the ground with both feet and running. And we just look forward to working with you and doing some great things in the housing community here in the city of Charlottesville and the surrounding county as well. And thank you and a welcome to the new commissioners as well.
Anybody else from the public like to speak?
Commissioners, questions, staff, anyone? Okay.
One quick thing I
Yes.
meant to mention earlier, sorry about that. This is not public housing related, it is housing related, and I just want to get the message out to everyone. I'm on the Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission, and just this past Thursday, voted to work with the subgrantees to implement the TJPDC's emergency rent and mortgage relief program. So if anyone's out there listening to this and they know someone that needs that information, just go to the Thomas Jefferson Planning District Commission website. That's a mouthful for information on that. And it's for rent and mortgage relief. It's COVID funds. And what they were saying is it's coming from the state. So people need to use it, because then that means we may get more funding here. So if anybody needs it, please reach out.
Great, thank you. And maybe we can get that on one of our one of the newsletters going out in paper copy.
Sorry. I also want to say that the city also has a program for rental assistance and mortgage assistance for anyone that's listening. So we have created a rental relief program as well. So with the state program and with the city program, there's a requirement to forgive a portion of it. Unfortunately, we can't forgive due to our structure and being under HUD. We can't forgive any. So we've created a fund that CACF helped fund, where we're going to match that. So the fund that they provided us will be the match, the 25% that has to be forgiven. So instead of the individual having to pay it, it's going to be paid out of the CACF grant that we received.
That's great news. Thank you. I didn't know. Thank you. I didn't know how that was going to work. And as a resident, I know there's many different ways right now to reach out for help, but it's hard. It seems like it would be hard to navigate which one is the right one to go to first. So it sounds like it's great to know that those work with our internal matching program.
Yeah, and none of I'm sorry, the state's program will not qualify for any of our housing. So the state's program is for unsubsidized housing. We have subsidized housing, so the state's program, the money cannot be used for public housing. I believe it can be used for HCV. I believe. I may be wrong on that one, but I know it cannot be used for public housing. So the only source right now will be the city's fund, which is being administered through the Office of Economic Development.
That's good news. It looks like Emily Dreyfus has her hand up.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Thanks. I just wanted to add that I believe that rent and mortgage relief program, the one that's being run through the Planning District Commission, is not applicable to anyone who has rent that's adjusted by income. So I think Section 8 residents actually would not be able to access it. But the other programs are available, I believe, for that group of folks. Thanks.
Emily, thank you for clarifying that. I couldn't remember if vouchers were qualified or not.
Sure thing. I'm glad this came up.
Great. Okay. I've never had such a fast meeting in the history of our board meetings. So it just feels so strange. And I know we all have a lot we want to talk about, which is difficult under these circumstances. But I'm hoping that we'll get a work session together. I'll check in with you all, but it seemed like Thursday late afternoon worked well with most people's schedule. I need to check in with Ms. Walker about that. Hi.
So the 2 dates that were sent out,
Yeah.
the 17th worked best for me.
Okay.
But if the other date works best for the majority of the board, I'll try to make it work.
Okay, great. And so I'll go ahead with just checking in with the lawyer to see which of them they can do, because I had waited to see if those would work. Can anyone else yes or no on the 10th or the 17th? Osteen's yes.
What time are we saying? So what time?
Last time we met around 5 o'clock.
I can make both of those dates work.
Okay, great. Dr. Henry, do you think 5 on the 10th or 17th would work for you?
I guess so.
Okay.
I don't usually think that far ahead, but I guess so.
We'll remind you.
That's after Labor Day, right?
Yes, yep,
Okay.
yep. I know my
I
brain
think I
right now
can make
is,
both of those work.
okay, great. My brain is now before school starting, after school starting, before UVA, after UVA, everything's like on a.
Okay, so put me down.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so I'll speak with the lawyer and then send you all a reminder for that. And I was also going to suggest what I hope to do is do more just calling and talking to you all in person, you know, one at a time. And I haven't been very good with that lately. So I'll try to do that, but also maybe even, you know, just everyone else, if you want to have a chat with each other. It doesn't flow as easily when you have to schedule everything on a, you know, computer or phone call, but you know, I think we got a lot of good work to do. So try to be in touch a little more often. Okay. Anything else from anyone? All right, then we need a motion to adjourn.
I move.
Motion.
Oh, I'll second Ms. Henry's motion.
Okay, and then we have to do the roll call. Okay, so Dr. Henry.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. Osteen.
Yes.
Yes. Ms. Walker. Did she say yes? I think Ms. Walker, did you say yes to adjourn? Okay. Ms. Green.
Aye.
And Ms. Goldblatt.
Yes.
Okay. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Hey, one question before you go off the record. Yeah. I'm still having trouble getting difficulty getting sworn in. So if you could maybe try and help me with that, because I can't legally vote until I'm sworn in.
Ooh.
I just thought I'd let you know that.
Okay. Yeah, Ms. Green, were you able to get sworn in? If you remember.
I don't know. I haven't been sworn into anything, no.
Okay. All right. We'll figure this out. I remember doing it, but that was in person 4 years ago. So
well, I've already been told, you know, that I can't legally vote or, you know, that type of thing until I'm sworn in.
Well, all right. Well, we'll get it done.
Okay.
You may want to give me a call.
All right.
All right. See you all.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.